这个故事如果你听起来不累，那么你的听力水平在生活中是完全够用的。要持续提升英文，记得点击订阅按钮。我们开始吧。
He was holding the wheel, but for 1 second, he felt like he was losing his life. The road cut through a long stretch of empty land, dry by day, cold by night, and now it was filled with wind that howled like something alive. His hands were tight on the wheel, his eyes fixed ahead, but the road kept shifting under the rain, like it did not want him there. People think control is a simple thing, like turning a wheel or pressing a pedal, but the idea of control is much older than this car, much older than this night. Long ago, before engines and lights, power sat on a high wooden seat, where one person held leather reins and guided living force through dark and danger. That old meaning had never left, and now it sat with him. Quiet but heavy, asking only one thing: will you lead, or will you lose it all? The phrase in the driver's seat began in a time when travel was slow, hard, and often deadly. Horse coaches moved across long roads filled with mud, rocks, and sudden drops, where one mistake could break wheels or end lives. The driver sat high above the coach, not for comfort, but for sight and control, watching every turn, every shadow, every change in the road. In his hands were the reins, thin lines of leather that held back power much greater than himself. Behind him sat people who trusted him without choice, their safety tied to his focus, his skill, and his will to stay steady. That seat was never just a place. It was a test. Cold wind hit his face, rain soaked his coat, and long nights gave him no rest, yet he could not fail. If fear touched his hands, the horses would feel it. If doubt slowed his mind, the road would punish it. So people began to speak of that seat in a deeper way. To be in the driver's seat meant more than holding reins. It meant holding control when things could fall apart. It meant being the one who decides, even when no choice feels safe. It meant that if something goes wrong, there is no one else to blame, and no one else to fix it. Years rolled on, and the world changed shape. Iron roads came, then engines, then cars that moved faster than any horse could dream. The seat changed form, the reins became a wheel, but the meaning stayed sharp and clear. The one in front still leads. The one in front still decides. Back on that dark road, the young man did not know all this history in words, but he felt it in his bones. He felt it in the way his back stayed straight even when fear tried to bend it. He felt it in the way his eyes refused to close, even for a second. He felt it in the silence between each breath, where choice lives. In the back seat, his little sister slept, unaware of the storm, her small hand resting on a worn bag that held their past. Inside that bag were simple things, but each one carried weight: a photo of their family, a shirt that still held the smell of home, a box of letters tied with a thin string. They had left in a hurry, not because they wanted to, but because staying was no longer safe. Now the road ahead was all they had. The rain grew stronger. It hit the car like a wall, fast and hard, turning the world outside into a blur of gray lines. The wind pushed from the side, sudden and sharp, making the car shake. The tires slipped for a second, just a second, but enough to send a wave of fear through his chest. His grip changed. Not stronger, not weaker, just uncertain. The car drifted. Not far, but far enough to matter. His heart jumped. His breath stopped. In that small moment, everything stood on a thin edge. This is how control is lost, not in big steps, but in small breaks. A loose hand. A slow thought. A single second of doubt. The edge of the road came closer. Dark, deep, unknown. Then something cut through the fear. A memory, clear and sharp. He was younger, sitting beside his father in another old car, hands too small to reach the wheel. His father's voice was calm, almost quiet, but it carried weight. When you are in the driver's seat, you do not wait for the road to be easy. You make yourself steady. Back in the storm, the young man breathed in, slow and deep. He did not fight the fear. He did not push it away. He let it sit, but he did not let it lead. His hands settled. His eyes focused. He eased the wheel, not with force, but with care. The car straightened. The road was still bad. The storm was still strong. Nothing outside had changed. But inside, something had. He was no longer reacting. He was choosing. He slowed down, just enough to feel the road again. Each turn became clear. Each line on the ground came back into view. Time moved, slow but steady. The rain began to soften. The wind lost its sharp edge. The night, once loud and wild, grew quiet again. Far ahead, a soft glow appeared. At first, it looked like a dream, a trick of tired eyes. But it stayed. A town. A place to stop. A place to breathe. He drove toward it, not fast, not slow, just sure. When he reached the first street light, he felt it, not joy, not relief, but something deeper. He had held on. He had stayed in control. He parked the car and let his hands rest. They were tired, but steady. His sister woke up, her eyes soft with sleep. "Are we there?" she asked. He looked at the small light above them, then at the quiet street ahead. "Yes," he said. Not because the road was over, but because he had made it through this part. He was in the driver's seat. Not just tonight. Not just in this car. But in the way he faced what came next. That is why this phrase still lives. It is not about cars. It is not about speed. It is about moments when things shake, when fear rises, when the path is unclear. It is about the truth that control is not given once and kept forever. It is taken again and again, in small choices, in hard seconds, in quiet acts of will. You may not sit behind a wheel right now. You may not face a storm like his. But there is a place in your life where the road feels just as dark. A place where one choice matters more than the rest. A place where no one else can step in for you. So when that moment comes, and it will come, ask yourself one thing. Will you let fear take the wheel, even for a second, or will you take your seat, hold steady, and move forward, even when the road fights back? Because whether you see it or not, whether you want it or not, you are already there. You are in the driver's seat. And the road is waiting.
能以非母语者的身份专注学习到现在，这本身就是很棒的进步。真诚感谢你的观看。如果你觉得本期内容实用，点赞或留言让我知道你的想法，这对我持续创作非常重要。我们下期见。